This story begins with a strong scene where our protagonist, who is a commoner, is being abused by the nobility. To make matters worse, these scoundrels give him a so-called gift, which is to let himself be attacked by our protagonist magic. With the little strength he has left, he hurls a small fireball, which disappears upon contact with the noble, and then proceeds to conjure a real fireball. Emphasizing that magic will never favor commoners like him, our poor character is then burned alive. But instead of crying or complaining about being a commoner, our protagonist is happy because for the first time, he felt the magic of a noble with great talent. As he is dying, he mentions that if he could make just one wish, it would be to completely master magic. In a blink, he is reincarnated as a baby surrounded by many maids. He also notices his small hands and thinks that these pretty girls did something to him. So to defend himself, he considers throwing a small fireball at them. However, far from being a small magic, it turns into a huge explosive fireball that destroys part of the castle. Meanwhile, the newsboy on the street is announcing to everyone that the 7th Prince of Salem has been born. Yes, this little one, from a very young age. He is already active obviously. The fortunate child born is our reincarnated protagonist, who is now excited about the attack he launched. After a few years of living in the kingdom, his maids are looking for him because our mischievous protagonist was hiding in the sculptures. When he sees that they are gone, he runs off to a specific place because he has already planned what he will do today. He encounters 2 guys who also work for the kingdom, but since they are not his maids, they just greet him. He asks them not to inform his caretakers, and one of them promises to do so as long as he accompanies them hunting. Our little prince, named Lloyd, because yes, that's his name now, is escaping and ignoring the night. The old man mentions that this little one always escapes, so his companion tells him that being the 7th prince is not easy because he is much younger than his other brothers, which already puts him out of the fight for the crown. However, the old man emphasizes that this little one learned to speak shortly after being born. Instead of watching cartoons on TV, he was already reading spells, even rejecting breast milk, as any high-class knight would do. Above all, when he saw the explosion he caused as a baby, it came to his mind that perhaps the little one is the reincarnation of the great father of magic, referring to the wizard William Borax. While our Lloyd is running, he tells us that he reincarnated into another, but from the same place. In his previous life, he was simply a normal person from the kingdom of Salem, although he is not clear about the reason for having his memories intact and much less knows why he reincarnated as the 7th son of the royal family. Although he personally does not seek prestige or glory, he still wants to discover as much impressive magic as he can in this palace. When he is already in front of the tremendous bookshelves, he is amazed by the huge collection. Compared to the Salu Magic Academy, this library is much larger and more impressive. An albino girl takes the book from him. This young lady is called Silpha, who quickly takes it to spar with wooden swords, because even though he, as the 7th prince, does not see it necessary, she, as his teacher, mentions that being a member of the royal family, he should also know how to handle a sword. She also mentions that she has been in charge of his education for 10 years. Our protagonist already knows her and is aware that if he continues to pretend he doesn't know how to handle a sword, she won't leave him alone until night. So they resume training, and during this, Lloyd reveals that his teacher always holds back against him, so he has no choice but to use his control magic to follow her and copy her movements. This basically means that Silpha is facing her reflection. Yes, our protagonist is a cheater, but he does it because he wants to go read his books. Although he is copying, the noticeable difference in different levels of strength, endurance, and even height puts him at a disadvantage, and he loses. On this particular day, he decides to cheat a little more to balance the fight, so he decides to use levitation magic, physical enhancement in his arms, and, of course, biotic growth to make his wooden sword grow a little more. Now, with both of them in equal conditions, they seem more evenly matched during the fight. This obviously surprises the girl, so a clash of swords produces a small explosion, followed by more sword strikes. Throughout the fight, he has been copying her moves, so now he tries to make a different attack by changing his position and trying to attack her from a blind spot. Furthermore, he apologizes in his mind because he wants to go read, but she easily blocks him. emphasizing that he is a cheater. With some simple moves, she manages to unbalance him and eventually hits him with the hilt of her sword. However, she also mentions that she noticed that he used 2 spells at once, one to make his sword grow and the other to levitate. Far from getting angry, this quirky girl hugs him and carries him like a plush toy, as the feat he performed is even impressive for the court mages. Although he knows he used 4 spells at once, he doesn't plan to say anything because he is very humble, after sweating in training. Silpha bathes him, but he reproaches her for the fact that he can bathe himself now. Some of Silpha's companions warn our protagonist that if he misbehaves, the demon from the Forbidden Library will eat him. This is because a long time ago in the kingdom of Salem, it was on the verge of being destroyed by the mentioned monster, and it was only thanks to the sacrifice of many mages that the demon was sealed in a book, which is now sealed in the basement library. Despite how incredible this story sounds, he knows that it is not enough to scare Prince Lloyd. However, when they see him trembling, they think he is afraid, which amuses them. So after that, the blonde girl starts teasing Silpha that she will sleep with Lloyd tonight. They all start fighting while our protagonist escapes without any of them noticing. He is very excited to meet the demon, and his eyes even sparkle with excitement. As expected from our terrible protagonist, he sneaks out at night and even uses his air magic spell called Concealment, which, as the name suggests, serves to hide. As proof of this, he enters undetected by the 2 guards, who do not notice him. He listens to their conversation, and one of them tells his companion to be alert because the Forbidden Library they are protecting contains such powerful magic that it could shake the entire kingdom. He also mentions the demon that has already been sealed in a book, which is what our Lloyd wanted to hear. However, they see him trembling, so they think he is scared, which seems very cute to them. After that, they see our protagonist escaping without anyone noticing. As he is already inside, they also tell us that in the worst-case scenario, if someone were to enter, the main door of the library is closed because 10 mages cast a very powerful sealing spell. He opens it without any problems, and while he is entering, they also tell us that if someone manages to enter, it would be impossible for them to escape since the sealing spell is very strong. Our Lloyd repairs the broken barrier he made recently and begins to search everywhere because he is fascinated by all the books he finds. However, far from being irresponsible, he has already replaced the barrier he broke a while ago. He sees a book flying around, and inside it is the famous demon who flatters our protagonist for breaking the seal of the entrance and introduces himself as Grimoire. He proposes a deal to our protagonist, which is to free him in exchange for giving him all the gold he wants, no matter the amount, as he can produce it. He even throws him some samples, but when our little Lloyd checks them, he notices that his creation magic is not very sophisticated since they easily return to their original state. In fact, the demon's gold is of poor quality and cannot resist anything, so basically, he tells him that his gold is a joke and not worth the deal. He is very grateful to the kingdom because he has learned all his magic studies from this place. So, he will not allow a dangerous demon to threaten him. When the demon hears all this, he acts friendly and mentions that he has already forgotten the mages who locked him away centuries ago. He does not hate the people of today at all, but our protagonist does not believe him at all. So, the villain pulls out his last card and proposes to teach him ancient magic, as well as things that were lost centuries ago. This excites our boy, so he praises the demon, highlighting that just by looking at him, he can see the enormous talent he has for magic. Our little Loy recalls a trauma and boasts that magic is always linked to lineage and talent, and who better than him, who is the most privileged in this world. Hearing this, the demon confirms it in words, but inside, he thinks and mocks that this guy is very conceited. Our villain then offers to teach him ancient magic, and as expected, the boy accepts. However, the demon decides to attack him, but to his surprise, our Lloyd has already put up a barrier. The demon realizes that he couldn't even control a single finger due to the density of Loy's mana, and now he is even more afraid than before, thinking that this kid is not human. He decides to obey the boy and transform into a small goat. Loy asks him to enter his clothes, and the demon takes advantage of the opportunity. However, he realizes that he cannot control Loy's mind or possess his body because his mana is too dense. Now he is even more afraid and thinks that this kid is not human. He asks Loy to call him Grim, and Loy decides to read all the books in the library to master magic completely.